Hello fellow homesteaders. Today we are going to make do-it-yourself all-natural mold remover. It's a spray form. This works wonders. There's no reason to use any toxic chemicals in your house like bleach. Bleach is commonly used to get rid of mold. And saying get rid of mold, I really feel disingenuous because you can clean it up with bleach. You can clean it up with these natural ingredients that you probably already have in your cupboard, or something else you purchase at a store. But the mold is going to grow back as long as there's a moisture, humidity, and temperature issue. This cleaner will work on about any kind of mold I've ever come across in a typical homestead household or even in town living. But different types of mold grow in different areas. They may cause different health effects and there's symptoms, and you can read all about that in the article. So this will help you clean it and get rid of it, but no matter what any product you buy or any recipe you read says, it's a temporary fix if the issue that allowed the mold, sparked the mold to grow in the first place, isn't remedied. So this will rid it of your house, at least temporarily, which will hopefully alleviate any symptoms you're having and prevent any symptoms that are mold related. And then you'll need to take further steps to eradicate it on a more permanent basis. To make this, it's very simple. And I already have my hot water, my warm water in this bottle here, so you didn't have to hear the sink running in the background. And then I'm going to take 1 cup of distilled white vinegar. I use vinegar in so many home remedies, cleaning remedies, first aid type situations. I think I perhaps use vinegar on my homestead more than just about anything else. I do not have a funnel handy, so I'm going to pour as carefully as I can to get it all in here. Forgot to lay my funnel out. I think I do that a lot. Focus on the big things, forget the small ones. So there's a smidge less vinegar in there because of my pouring. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little dab in here. And never throw away your vinegar jugs. There are so many uses for them. You could use them as in a portable garden, a container garden. You could use them to carry livestock. You can put salt water in the winter to keep your livestock waters from freezing over. There's a plethora of things you can use those vinegar jugs for. So I'm going to jiggle this a little bit, mix up the water and vinegar as much as I can. Next thing I'm going to put in is my 1 cup of peroxide. Now I wondered in these recipes why I never ever, oh, it's squirting out slow, why I've never seen rubbing alcohol used as an ingredient. I guess thinking that I use rubbing alcohol on wounds and things, unless it's a child, far more often than I would peroxide. I use rubbing alcohol and for cleaning, for all kinds of things. So I was really surprised. Even deep cleaning is such a good disinfectant. Vodka is better. Scrub your commode with or anything with a lot of germs, but still rubbing alcohol was so potent. I'm so surprised that it's not in any mold recipes. So one day I decided to try it. When I was helping my daughter clean some mold in her cabin from around the door. Pouring the peroxide in now. And I don't know what the difference is, but I did 2 test batches, my normal mixture, and then I also did one with the rubbing alcohol. And instead of the peroxide, and it just did not seem to remove the mold as well. I'm not sure why, because it dries more quickly. That's a little above my whole homesteady sciencey level of knowledge there. I'm really not sure. But for whatever reason, you can give it a shot. But rubbing alcohol did not seem as a good substitute for peroxide. So now I'm going to pour in my baking soda. Yes, funnel definitely needed. And of course there's fizzing with baking soda and vinegar. And flashbacks to elementary school science fairs here. It is foaming. I'm kind of, whoa, yep, foaming way over. Really should have filmed that much because I put it in slowly. Best laid plans. I will not edit that out. You can see what can happen when you don't pour in slowly enough. Just be prepared for the fizz, I guess. And be smart enough to have a funnel handy. Or I could have grabbed a paper plate. You can make a funnel out of a paper plate. Especially the thicker kinds will handle liquid. Draining off more fizz that I'm losing. Now you need to have a spray bottle that is big enough to hold about 3 cups of liquid. Wow, it's really fizzing now. Sorry folks, I've never had it fizz this much. It's going to fizz and you're going to lose some, and that's kind of adapted into the recipe, but it's really not supposed to fizz that much. Now with the baking soda, you want to make sure it's thoroughly combined, and after all the fizzing, I'm sure it is, so it does not clog the nozzle on your squirt bottle. And if your squirt bottle nozzle does get clogged, I've had friends who've taken this part off to leave a bigger opening in the bottom. Now you need to put in your drops of your tea tree oil. I really don't measure anymore. Kind of have it down to, there we go, about how many are needed, but the exact measurements are in the article. And you can add borax if you want. And as I've noted in multiple different videos, there's people who really get upset saying borax is not natural enough. And some people think it's quite fine to use. That's all up to you. The same kind of conversations and inquiries and debates happen over liquid dish soap, because oftentimes a natural clean recipe will encourage you to use the liquid dish soap. And I always use Blue Dawn. Works great. It's used by environmentalists on wounded animals, especially ducks, when they get in the water and then there's some type of oil in the water. So I've never had a problem with that, any bad reactions, though I'd say dish soap is definitely not 100% natural. But borax and boric acid are two entirely different things. So if you're thinking about using it, or you've sworn it off because you thought borax and boric were the same thing, I would encourage you to do a little bit of research and decide. You may decide it's not natural enough for you, but it is a potent cleaner of mold and of all kinds of other things in your household. So it's something to consider if you're not real familiar with what borax is. The only concern with borax would be the ingestion by animals. And I do mix it in with peanut butter when I put on mouse traps to kill mice, so I want them to ingest it, but I do not want any of our livestock or animals here in the house or any wild birds, except maybe hawks, which they eat my chickens, so I'm not real fond of hawks. But I don't want to kill wildlife with it either, so that's why I don't use any outdoor weed sprays. And it's potent, it'll kill your weeds, but it will also kill lots of other things. So once you get all of your mixture together and everything stops fizzing, and you can pour a little bit more vinegar in at the end. And before all the fizzing, what I was starting to say is make sure your spray bottle will hold 3 cups of liquid. I didn't make a very big batch. If I was going to be doing a lot of mold cleaning, I would definitely fill it up. This is just a bottle from the Dollar Tree, my smaller bottle that I had. It's only about this tall, and it looked like it may have worked, but it's not quite as wide in diameter. So this will actually tell you the measurements and how much you're using. So I do not, fortunately, have any mold that needs cleaned right now, or I would have done a demonstration. But all that you will do, and you can use a sponge, you can use a scrub brush, you can use a washcloth. I want to show you how easily it will squirt with the baking soda, because that's often a concern. And make sure you can see it here. It squirts out just fine. I did not use too much baking soda, not having a problem at all. All you have to do is mix it up, be aware of the fizz, and then you will have it ready to use to clean off mold. And you just scrub at the mold, but ideally you're going to let it set on there for a little while. Let it soak in, let it work its way through. You're not going to wipe it away quickly. All the instructions for using this spray, which I did the heavy duty one, there are some in there that have different variations of all of these ingredients in the article, but you really should let it sit on the mold for a little while and let it sink in, half an hour to an hour depending on the recipe, and then you wipe it away or scrub it off. With the scrubbing, you have to be careful about sending those spores flying. Perhaps they're going to grow somewhere else, where they could be ingested by a little child playing or an animal. So you want to make sure you do it in a well-ventilated room, which isn't always possible with mold in a basement, but with as much ventilation as you can get. And always put on one like the doctor face masky things and some gloves. You don't want to be packing these spores onto your skin to get skin rashes, depending on the type of mold, to be breathing it in your nose, getting in your mouth. Sometimes you might want to put it on your eyes if you're having to work up a wall or on a ceiling. You don't want those spores from the mold to get into your eyes or onto your clothing and spread elsewhere. So you do need to take precautions when you're cleaning mold. You hopefully won't have to do any heavy-duty scrubbing after this sits and works on the mold for a while. The more scrubbing you do, the more the spores are going to be released into the air, which is the opposite of what you want. But I mix this up when I need to use it. I don't know how long it will stay potent. I've never been told or seen that in the recipe. I would imagine that after a while, the baking soda is going to get a little bit gummy in there, and borax if you used it. So I would suggest you make this up just as you need to. It only takes a couple of minutes to do that, and that way you know it's nice and strong and ready to use. And if any of you try using rubbing alcohol instead of or in conjunction with the hydrogen peroxide and do a little bit of comparison, I'd love to hear about it in our comments section here on New Life on the Homestead, or perhaps you can post pictures to our Facebook or Pinterest page to see how yours turned out. I'm still a little bit baffled why rubbing alcohol does not work better. Thank you very much. Good luck with your mold.